Hello anybody and welcome back to Let's Play Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. I'm Mr. Devious, or just Deeb, and in the last episode we did 2 more levels in Razor Ridge, and in today's episode we're going to be finishing up, starting with Ropey Rumpus. Now Ropey Rumpus, while being a fun name to say, is actually probably the hardest level in this world, if I had to be honest. It's another cliff level, once again with a lot of rope climbing, and basically the gimmick of the level is kind of an expansion on what we learned in the first rope levels, by which I mean it's just a lot of rope climbing. But the main difference here is that most of our obstacles are going to be buzzes, so it's going to be all about timing and precise aiming of your jumps. Now, I remembered this level being really hard when I was younger, at least, so I did do a practice file, and yes, this is how you're supposed to get through this wall, is you're supposed to get the TNT barrel at the top and then jump over to the right side to blow a hole through the wall so you can get to the bonus barrel. It's pretty easy to get, although when you first get here it might seem like it's a little intimidating. I mean, jumping down through an entire column of bees doesn't seem like it's a wise idea, but it's one of those instances where just hanging to the side will reliably keep you alive. And now you can pick up a TNT barrel and blow up a bee. Not that you need to get past these buzzes, but yeah. This is one of the levels that I actually did practice before doing, so I should have a slightly easier time than I did before. It's also important to check on these little platforms when you're looking for secrets in this level. Like when you're on these ropes and you see something below you, it's a good idea to drop down onto them and see if they hint at something more coming your way. For the most part though, the secrets in this level aren't hard to find, except I would say for the coin one, the coin you have to find, and thankfully, I do know where to find it, so I won't just be jumping to my doom repeatedly like I did in the previous episode. Well, not the previous episode, but the episode before that, in Kong-Fused Cliffs, where I was basically jumping off the burning rope, and I was paying for that because I was just jumping to my death. Now, as you can see here, the gimmick is that you have to jump up as quickly as you can. Now, you can go down the right side, but all you get for that is an extra life, and it's pretty hard to avoid those bees when they're coming around from above, so usually I wouldn't say that's worth it. Granted, even if you do get hit, you only lose 1 Kong, so it's not that big of a loss. And here we are again with the precise jumps, and once you get to this little cliff area, that's where you'll know to jump down and get this coin. He's pretty well hidden because there's not really much in the way of hints even on the platforms that you can stand on. There's nothing really giving away that you can jump down between them to find the coin there. But thankfully, even though it's one of only a few leaps of faith in this game, and it's not the most annoying one, I would say. But anyway, I digress. We now have Perry the Parakeet with us again, who will be helping us to get these bananas, and this is one of the instances where you really want to keep Perry alive, and the best way to do that is not to take this path ahead with all these bees, but to jump there, which is hinted at by the banana, and then you get this safe little upper path where you can just collect a bunch of lives and bananas with Perry, and you're pretty fine, and then you just need to jump down, and I'm not going to be going back over the path that we avoided by doing that. Thankfully, Perry's pretty easy to keep alive, and doing that will get you the bonus barrel. Now, this is one of the instances in the game where, because the bonus barrel comes from an animal buddy, if you lose the animal buddy, or if you fail this, you have to do it again. Like, you have to do this whole thing. You have to do the whole thing again, where you get Perry the Parakeet, and then do this whole section again. So this is pretty nerve-wracking. Usually, actually, they make these particular bonus barrels a little harder than the other ones, and I'm not sure if that's actually true, or they just feel harder because suddenly it's a lot more tense that you need to survive and get everything and then get out, because if you fail, you're doing at least half the level again from the checkpoint in order to get another attempt, and that's a little stressful. Overall, though, that level went pretty well, no deaths. Pretty proud with how that went. I gotta say that the practice paid off. And that actually brings us up to the boss level. But before that, we're just gonna go on down and have another run at Swanky's Sideshow. I know we've done this a bunch before, and we've already done the Bleak boss, but you know, it's just fun to do these, and I'm kind of hoping to get to... I'm hoping to get to see, like, one of Cranky's reactions that we haven't seen yet. I hope you like red, because that's what your face is soon gonna be soon. Shut up. I think this is... Have I always played these minigames as Kiddy Kong? Because I don't really remember playing them as Dixie Kong. Well, there's not really any difference between Kiddy Kong and Dixie Kong, as far as I'm aware. They control exactly the same, so, you know. And we win. Yep, we already saw this. We already saw that particular ending. It's funny because in a practice file, I did get to see the one ending I was hoping to see, but we just haven't had any luck in seeing it so far this time around. But anyway, with that distraction aside, that sideshow if you will, it's time to move on to the boss of Razor Ridge, Barbos's Barrier. Barbos is, well, you'll see in just a moment in this blood-red water as we play as Ungard. He is a giant urchin. A gigantic urchin who we cannot attack directly because he has barriers on his sides. So in order to get rid of them, you need to hit these little guys and not mess up the timing like I did, so that they bounce around and get rid of the barriers by knocking them out of the way. And then once they're gone, Barbos will move up and down to try and dissuade you from poking him, but you have to poke him right in his core, or her. I'm not really sure if Barbos has a gender even. Now for the second phase, it's not going to use the smaller enemies, but an entirely new enemy that you have to particularly aim so that they hit the, the barriers. Now while I did that very easily, when I was younger, that was like one of the things that took the longest time to get the timing down for, and for the longest time, this was the hardest boss in the game for me. But thankfully, because of all the experience I've had in fighting it, it's definitely a lot easier for me than it used to be. Is it just me or is the background flickering? And there's our opening. In between these little shots that it shoots out, there are like brief openings where you can like go up and poke it, but they're not very long, and if you miss them, you'll get squished, just like that. Barbos also falls into that category of Donkey Kong Country 3 bosses that are they're just plain weird. Like, they're ugly, and they're not pleasant to look at, and they're just, they're unpleasant. Even their renders are usually pretty terrifying too, which I would put up on screen, but we're actually going to get a chance to see those in-game, so I want to show it off in that instance. Also interesting, in the Game Boy Advanced version of this game, Barbos, they added an entirely new world for one thing called Oceania, or something like that, and Barbos is the boss of that world, and they made a new boss for Razor Ridge, who I may or may not show off in a post-series episode. But with that done, Barbos is defeated and spits out the bonus coin, and it is time for us to get flushed out of Razor Ridge. You can see us go through a tube in the bottom, and it's time for us to go. And with that, with Razor Ridge completed, we blow open a path in the entire ridge there that opens a path to the final world of the game. Chaos Core. I know we're not on the tile there, so my announcement isn't totally in tune with the world coming up, but we're not going to be going there just yet. First things first, we got some business to take care of outside of it. Also, fun fact, because the camera pans up so that you can see Chaos Core, you actually get to see more of K3 from the world map, so that's a nice little detail. But anyway, yeah, we have some business to take care of, starting with Barter's Swap Shop. Remember, he still has the mirror, and he looks better now.
Hey, look at me now, kitty. Don't you think I'm drop-dead gorgeous? I'm a lean, mean machine.
Well, okay, I guess he still has the mirror, but we're not going to be able to get it back yet. But if you look down in the bottom left, you might notice something that's a few pixels large. And if we take over the skidoo, we can ride up here and get it. What was that, you might ask? It was a flower. Particularly the flower that this guy seeks. The most beautiful flowers used to grow around here, but they died back when those awful machines came. You've got one! A perfect Flupperius petalis pongus. I don't think that's a real flower. Would you let me have it? I'd be ever so grateful. Oh, okay then. You are too generous, kitty. Here, have this Bananus goldus flutterus. I meant banana bird. I finished studying its abilities. Some of them are quite magical, I'll have you know. Magical, you say? Perhaps that will tie into something a little later. And you might be wondering, Mr. Debius, you just said we're at the final world. How much later can there be? And oh ho, you will see. But that will be in a later episode, because for now, we're going to call this episode right here at the entrance to Chaos Core. If you'd like to see us begin the final world of the game, then I just hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye!